It's tank time, and here are the 3 tanks that come with the jet. You also get this set of stuff. This is what's supposed to be used for the fuel tank system. Basically a rubber grommet setup, but I do not like this setup, so I'm not going to be using that. And instead, what I'm going to be using are these DreamWorks RC fuel fittings. So we're gonna have 3 of these DreamWorks, one for each tank. So then for the plumbing is basically gonna be center tank. So we're gonna have the pickup from here go to the vent on this tank. The pickup from here go to the vent and the second vent on this tank, and then the pickup from the center tank go to the UAT. And for the pickup from the center tank, actually I'm going to be using these Festo fittings. So they're going to go one right here and one right here, and the ones that go on the saddle tanks are just going to be the ones that come with the DreamWorks stuff right there. Is gluing the fittings. So what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, I marked the fuel fitting radius, and I'm gonna basically get some sanding and sand around that area. We're also gonna sand the back of this guy, at least the 2 surfaces where epoxy is expected to sit. So as can be seen here, I've added some texture to all of my fittings. Tanks, I have also added some texture to where I expect the epoxy to go, as you can see, and I've marked the spots where I'm gonna put my vents. So on the center tank, these are probably gonna be up here like that. For the side tanks, the vents are gonna be on the side right here, and that's just because of how this sits in the jet. You basically have this center tank sitting on top, and it has to go in from the front of the jet, and so I really can't have my vent fittings up that way, and I don't want to put them up here because that's just gonna cut down my fuel volume. I want to put them at the highest point, so that left only one spot, which would be over here, because we basically have the 2 tanks like that, the center tank on top, and then in the middle is where the air intake is, but it leaves room for me to put my vents sort of over here and still have room to slide my tank in. This will become clear once I put in the jet. So just dry fitting everything. Vents are drilled and in place, and the center tank, just gotta stick these guys in there. So that's gonna go like that. Second one's gonna go right there, and then the pickup is gonna go right here in the middle. And my glue of choice is going to be this guy, Loctite E20NS. So we're gonna glue that, and we'll come back in 24 hours and all of that should be dried. Alright, so we have epoxied everything, and we're gonna let it sit overnight, and when we come back tomorrow we will check that everything's working as expected. I have sealed the 2 vents by connecting them to each other, creating a loop. And then I have blown into the tank so that I have a little bit of pressure in the tank, and I'm going to dip this, and the goal is to see no bubbles, and that tells me that the tank is perfectly sealed. So this one looks good and it's ready to be installed. No bubbles coming out of anywhere, and that's good. So we already pressure tested the other 2, and those look good as well. Is the fuel intake, and as you can see, I'm in the process of wire wrapping. So we have the fuel tubing cut into 3 sections: plastic, brass tube and plastic, and the reason for that is so that this doesn't kink over on itself. And so this guy is gonna go into the tank just like that. And what I'd like to show is sort of the bottom. So I like to have my tanks plumbed so that the clunk is just shy of the bottom of the tank when properly installed. So you can see by the shadow of the clunk that it is just at the bottom of the tank. In fact, I might make this just a little bit shorter because I don't want any chance that it will get stuck in the back of the tank. The final intake for the saddle tanks, and you can see this one is complete wire wrapping all around, and I have one more wire wrap to do here, but basically clear tubing, brass pipe, clear tubing, clunk, and everything is held together with wire wrap right at the barb, so that should be pretty dependable. Once in the tank, they go right about to the end of the tank, but not like in such a way that they will get stuck in there. So just remember, before we do that, so I found this tank and I'm gonna use this for smoke, and so basically I glued a piece of wood in the back and I used the stock Skymaster, gasket and pipe setup for the smoke tank, and basically have a little clunk in there, just like in the other tanks, to pick up the smoke fluid. And so I am going to be securing this right in here, and adding a smoke pump to the left and right of this, and that's going to be what's holding my smoke fuel. So you can see that this had to be installed in such a way that it wouldn't interfere with the intake that goes from here all the way to where the turbine's going to sit, as well as a tank. So that's why this is a perfect location for it. So finally, the smoke tank is secured in place. You can see I used 2 screws. There's an M5 screws and lock nuts with washers. And then I laced the bottom with silicone. So that's this stuff right here. And that's just gonna, help hold the tank a little bit on the front. All the force really is on this back plate right here, which is held by 2 screws. And so that's just, an additional glue and bumper to just keep the tank in place. So that's what that is, and the beauty of that is it's very easy to remove. You could just, when I remove the tank, take off these screws, and if I just lift this from the back forward, that'll just peel off slowly. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna put the plumbing in, and then the fuel pump or the smoke pump, and then we can put our tanks in place and attach the front section of the nose. Here's my smoke system, and the system's pretty hooked up. So we have our smoke pump, which is just held with Velcro. Put Velcro around the pump and Velcro on the bottom, and that's sticking there. And then we have our after the pump going all the way around through here to our shut-off valve, and then to our smoke stick, which goes into the center of the pipe. And then no UAT for the smoke, and I just have a Y here, so you can see better. So just have a Y there, and that smoke line is gonna come all the way forward. I think that's gonna be fueled from the front alongside the fuel, and then the vent is just right under here. So nice cap for the smoke vent, and that is just straight up from the vent of the tank to the vent on the body. The other thing is I just put some balsa pieces of balsa around the vent here, just to strengthen the fuselage skin right around where the vent exits the fuselage. And that's pretty much it. installed our vent plug, and as you can see, I just put a piece of wood there to act as a washer to spread the load of the nut across a nice surface area. And this is what it looks like from the bottom. So we have our smoke over there, and we have our fuel on this side. So we're just gonna plumb that right now and get the tanks in place. And I reorganized the arrangement of stuff. So now the vent lines, which are these flexible tubes, go sort of around the side there, and you can see the T that they join to in the middle there and off to the vent. And the reason for making those lines long is because I can install these and sort of, you know, get those tubes to fit, but also if I need to pull this out, I can do this one at a time, and I have enough fuel line to really pull the tank out, because you can only pull one tank out at a time. So the other thing is a lot of my DreamWorks fittings, for some reason they broke. I guess I was applying too much force, so I just drilled them through and put a brass tube right through, and this is going to be a much solid connection. So because as the nose is coming into here, I find that there's a lot of movement needed to finagle the tanks in place. The center tank's kind of sitting in here, and you have to push it up, and you have to get the wires, the cable, the fuel lines out, and I think I broke a couple of those. So with this setup, I feel like it's much better. The other thing I want to mention is I ground this down a little bit, so I think I took off like maybe 2 millimeters on either side of here. We also ground down the top. You can see that's way more ground down, and we did the same thing right there. So that border has been ground down a little bit, and that's because I just need a little bit of room when I try to push the center tank up top. So we've put in our intakes now, and this is sitting pretty good, and this was pretty easy. Like I said, pull up both tanks, there's enough vent line to hang those out, stick this in, and then one at a time reinstall those. So next thing I'm going to do is install the pickup for this tank, and then we're going to test dry fit the top tank or center tank before we start to reassemble all this together again. So this is what I'm going for with the pickup lines going into those vents. If I were to do this again, I would not use right angle here. I would just use straight through, because it's easier for the pickups to go from here straight in like that. I had plans, but they didn't quite work out the way I expected. So I'm gonna add the pickup from the center tank out, and then obviously once all of this is done, you need to disconnect these guys, pull the tank out, and then put the nose on and bolt everything in and push it all back in. It's still really tight up here, even with all the shaving that I did. You can see right there that it's really contacting the tank. I'm not very happy about that, but that's what it's gonna be. I don't think I can shave this anymore without affecting that hole, so that's gonna have to be the case there. Center tank, I have marked sort of where I want the tank to stop at, and I'm gonna add this brace. Now in your kit, the brace comes with these look like M3 machine screws, and they're long enough, and basically they need to go through the brace, through the former, and get capped on this end using a washer and a lock nut, and these are in your kit as well. So that's what we're doing right now. And basically what I've done is I've taken a block of plywood and I've inserted a lock nut on the bottom, and then we're gonna glue that to the tank there. So the turbine has been, I put it back for the final time, and I plumbed it as well. So I added this sort of tray here to hold the fuel valve, and I 3D printed a holder for that. I also added these pieces of wood, as you can see, glued to the tanks to secure the top tank to the bottom tanks. And that works because, as I mentioned earlier, these two tanks, so the saddle tank on that side and the one on this side, that in conjunction with the intake tube here and the top tank create a sandwich that makes it such that the tanks in the saddle cannot move forward or backward or in and out. So it made sense to me to anchor the top tank, which can slide in and out if it's not secured, to those, and then that's why that is. To make the front of the fuselage to the back, and what I want to show here is, so this is a screw back that came with the Skymaster F-16, and it looks like I need to use these look like M4 screws, but you get two kinds. So you get a slightly shorter one, which is this guy right here, and you get 4 long ones, and I believe these 4 long ones are gonna be used to secure the clamps for the wings. So I will try those, but then these short ones I believe are the ones that go into the fuselage to bolt the nose section to the remainder of the fuselage. Why? Because you get exactly six of these and 4 of those. So those 4 match up really well with the clamps for the wings, and these 6 match up really well with the bolts and nuts, blind nuts that are on the fuselage. You should join the nose to the fuselage. Tanks have been taken out. This is why I needed that long vent line. Screws are going to go in from the back on that side. So only ways to go in through here and screw the screws forward. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Obviously, this is much easier with a ball end wrench, so that allows you to be able to screw the screws at an angle. So the 3 screws in here are together, and all that's left is to put in the 3 screws that go in the bottom section. So you can see there's one screw that goes right there, a second one goes right there, and the final one that goes right in that spot right there. So 2 of the screws are in, the one on the far right side of the aircraft, this one right in the nose, and so we're left with that guy right there, and we're gonna screw that down. And what I'm gonna be using for that is, I find that something like that, where you have a wrench that you can turn and it's nice and short, allows you to get into there. So we're gonna use that and tighten that down. Closer to completing this, a couple of things I want to mention here. One is there's a reason that my UAT is offset to one side as opposed to in the middle, at least for me. One is because if you see, the pickup comes from the center tank sitting over there. If I'd put the UAT in the middle, this bend would have to be, a little bit interesting, and I'd have to either have the tubing be a little longer so it can come around and whatnot, but by putting it to one side like that, I get a decent bend pretty easily. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2 is because if I had put the UAT in the middle, there's not enough room on either side for my hand to make it through, and I need to be able to go through all the way to the back, for example, to push that center tank into place. So by putting the UAT and the pump to one side like this, I get a whole lot of room, a whole lot of space in here for my big hands to fit through, and I can get to the back, to that center tank, no problem. The third reason is inspection. So as it sits this way, if the UAT was in the middle, from my previous F-16 experience, it was a little hard to see what the UAT is doing in terms of bubbles and whatnot. At least now, if I lean onto one side, I have like a line of sight from this angle here, and I can kind of have a peek at what the UAT is doing. So that's the reason why.